This is WorldView live from our studio in Johannesburg, and thank you for joining us. Now, 2 weeks ago, a peaceful South Africa woke up to a wave of violence in which lives were lost. An African killing another African. All this started after a statement by the Zulu king Zwelithini calling on foreigners to pack up and leave South Africa. Now, the comment then resulted in sporadic killings of non-South Africans across the country. However, analysts have asked King Zwelithini to qualify the term foreigner, as some have argued that the comment seems to target other black Africans. Here's a very brief history of some of the xenophobic attacks recorded in South Africa, dating back to the days of apartheid. Now, in the last week of 2005 and the first week of 2006, at least 4 people, including 2 Zimbabweans, died in the Olivenhout-Bosch settlement after foreigners were blamed for the death of a local man. Shacks belonging to foreigners were set alight, and locals demanded that police remove all immigrants from the area. In August of 2006, Somali refugees appealed for protection after 21 Somali traders were killed in July of that year and 26 more in August. Now, the immigrants believed the murders were motivated by xenophobia, although police rejected the notion that there was a concerted campaign to drive Somali traders out of townships in the Western Cape. Attacks on foreign nationals increased in the late 2007, and there were at least a dozen attacks between January and May of 2008. The most severe of the incidents occurred on the 8th of January of 2008, when 2 Somali shop owners were murdered in the Eastern Cape towns of Jeffreys Bay and East London, and in March of 2008, 7 people were killed, including Zimbabweans, Pakistanis and a Somali, after their shops and shacks were set alight at Attridgeville near Pretoria. And now in 2015, violence broke out 2 weeks ago. In Zimbabwe, there's been a strong reaction at the xenophobic violence in South Africa from at least 2 government ministers. The ministers took to the social media to vent their anger, calling the latest attacks worse than apartheid. Now let's have a listen to what has been dubbed the King Zwelithini's hate speech.
Okuyothi ngo-1994 bathola inkululeko kuthi ngo-2015 kukhulunywa ngendaba ukuthi abantu base-South Africa, abantu abangafuni ukulalela, abantu abangafuni ukusebenza, abantu abangamasela, abantu abadlwengula iy'ngane, abantu abagqekeza imizi, abantu abangamavila abangafuni ukulima, abantu okuyothi uma bebukwa ngezinye izizwe zithi asihambe siyodla ifa ley'phukuphuku. Khuluma nje phambi kwethu lokulenga yonke into ongayazi, amaniki into ongawazi, angingcolisa iy'taladi zethu, awusazi ukubona isitolo ukuthi isitolo kwakuyisitolo bani, kwakuyisitolo bani, kuvimbe nje abantu bokufika. Ngiyazi kwenye inkathi kulukhuni kwabanye osopolitiki ukukhuza imhlolo, ngoba phela laba benzi bobubi babuye babe ngabavoti eminyakeni emihlanu. Bahlonishwa bami, ngiyongixolela esimeni esinjalo kuwumsebenzi wami fale nkulumo. Mina engalinde iminyaka emihlanu ukuba ngikhuze uma konakala. Njengenkosi yesizwe samazulu, yesizwe sihlonishwa umhlaba wonke ngeqhaza laso emzabalazweni wokukhululeka kwe-Afrika. Ngeke ngithule izwe lethu lidlala abantu abangenambono. Kufika isikhathi manje kuba sibe nombono. Ngiyacela mina uhulumeni wakithi South Africa akasilekelele, asenwaye iy'ntwala zethu, asichobeze iy'ntwala ey'phukweni zethu. Amazeze kasikhiphe sibeke laphaya elangeni ayiqashela amazeze ngenxa kwelanga. Siyacela abantu bokuhamba bathathe imithwalo yabo babuyisele emuva.
Well, that was King Zwelithini's speech when he clearly stated that all foreign nationals staying in South Africa should pack their bags and go. Now, joining me in studio is NTLALONTLE NGCAKAZA, a social analyst here in South Africa. And also joining me in studio via hybrid is Remembrance Shumba, a political analyst in Zimbabwe. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And Remembrance, yes, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, before we even get into the whole debate surrounding the xenophobia attacks that we have been witnessing here in South Africa, President Zuma addressed the xenophobic attacks this afternoon in Parliament. And this is what he had to say. Let's just listen to a clip there because you spoke for more than 30 minutes in Parliament.
No amount of frustration or anger can ever justify the attacks on foreign nationals and the looting of their shops. We condemn the violence in the strongest possible terms. The attacks violate all the values that South Africa embodies, especially the respect for human life, human rights, human dignity, and Ubuntu. Our country stands firmly against all intolerances such as racism, xenophobia, homophobia, and sexism. We extend our condolences to the families of all who have lost their lives and wish the injured a speedy recovery. We appeal for calm, an end to the violence and restraint of violent actions. Criminal elements should not be allowed to take advantage of the concerns of citizens to sow mayhem and destruction. Any problems or issues of concern to South African citizens must be resolved peacefully and through dialogue.
That was the President's address this afternoon in Parliament in Cape Town. Now, Remembrance, I'll start with you. Today we saw some Zimbabweans marching in protest against the xenophobia attacks. But at the same time, President Zuma has been accused of lacking a sense of emergency in addressing this matter. Only 2 weeks later, an urgent debate is held in Parliament. What is your comment?
What I'll say is that South Africans should be more educated and understand that they're getting independence. We are the last country to get independence in Africa. And they should understand that their problems, they're having problems, their leaders were housed in all of these African countries. They were being educated in our country. They were refugees in our country, you see. And now that they are independent, they now think that we are foreigners. You see, that shows that they are uneducated. The big problem is that we actually learn foreign history rather than teaching our own history and understanding what has made us to be Africans. You see, if we understood that, if we understood where we came from our own stories, we would understand that there is no foreigner who is an African.
Mm-hmm. So that means, in other words, Kings Welithini, like I mentioned earlier, needed perhaps to qualify the term of foreigners. Let's hear from NTLALONTLE here. What is behind the xenophobic attacks?
Many social issues actually come to play when you talk about these xenophobic attacks. One of the issues you can highlight is that the masses, they feel like they are being ignored by government, in the sense that this has been a developing issue. I mean, I remember even during Thabo Mbeki's time, this issue was addressed, and Thabo Mbeki didn't really have answers, or didn't have the sense of urgency to attend to the issue. Now, Even I was listening to the man, Mr. Tobejane of Contralesa, which is a body representing the traditional leaders and the kings.
In South Africa.
And he was saying that this issue had been referred to the Minister of International Relations in South Africa, and he hadn't responded about 5 years back. So the issue is that the resources are stressed, and the immigration is not really controlled. I mean, there's an issue of, you would say, people just pay bribes to get into the country, and it's becoming chaos. So somebody needs to take responsibility and control immigration as it is.
Okay, so you mentioned that there is an influx of foreigners coming into the country, and hence resources are not enough anymore to cater for the people. But the government at the same time has to redress what the situation is with regards to the immigration laws and all that. But would it be now necessary to say all foreign nationals should now pack their bags and go back in such a dramatic and even unspeakable manner? And in addition to that, which foreigners in particular are we talking about? Because these xenophobic attacks are in certain areas and not in all areas. There are so many foreign nationals, British, Germans, Italians, Americans, Africans at large.
That's the sad part of it, because it's not really, these foreigners, these people are not speaking about the white guy, because they're not dealing with the white guy. They don't see the white guy maybe competing for them, maybe for a stand on the street to sell vegetables or whatever the case may be. They're not referring to that man or the Chinese guy as the foreigner. The foreigner is the African brother. So that's the sad part to it, because it shouldn't really be like that. I mean, we are all Africans. So now, it also, I mean, it goes back really to the authority that be, because even King Zwelithini, I mean, he's not speaking for himself. Probably the people around him, that is their feeling that, you know what, we are sitting at home and we are seeing the guy coming from outside eating, you know, like, that's the issue now that presents itself, that the people around him, like, imagine he's an authority in his own right, you know, probably, like I was saying, like the Contralesa, they had addressed this issue, and government doesn't have answers, or in that case, government is not really quick to tackle the issues of the guy on the ground. Let's put it like that. They will only focus to the rich guy. You know, the poor guy on the ground, you can wait, and, you know, he will be ignored. You understand? So this is how now it plays out itself now to violence. You know? So I think the blame goes to government.
Okay,
I think
now,
the blame goes to government.
Do I still have Remembrance online? Remembrance? Okay, Remembrance is not online. But then viewers at home, kindly note that our lines are open right now. We need to hear what your thoughts are. What is your take on the xenophobia attacks? We also want to hear from other African nationals that have been affected. We're talking about Malawians, Mozambicans, Zimbabweans, Somalians, Ethiopians, and a whole lot more that are affected in this. So what is it that the government can actually do to change this? Let me just expatiate on my question. King Zwelithini, an authority that is revered as a head of a community in South Africa, his voice is respected. Right. Hence, people resorted to the violence that we now see on the streets, that is the xenophobic attacks, after he said that the foreigners should pack and go. He has now said that. And then President Zuma, only 2 weeks later, then addresses the issue. How is this going to be resolved? Is this going to be a resolved matter at all?
That one is very tricky as far as being resolved, because now, I mean, what, it's 10, 15 years we've actually seriously been approached with this issue. And
okay, just hold your thought. We've got a caller there online. Charlene from Joburg, thank you for joining us on the program.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your comment.
Okay, I just want to comment about this whole xenophobia attack. I find it is really unfair. Because if they're only attacking black people, why aren't they attacking also white people who are foreigners as well?
So you feel that the black people are being used as scapegoats?
Yes. the majority, also Chinese people are foreigners, but the majority are the black people, black African people who are being attacked.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlene. Thank you for your contribution. Yes, you were saying something before we had that call. You can go ahead.
I was just saying the authorities have really let the people down as far as this issue. Now the caller is talking about attacking the Chinese guy or I mean, we don't condone any attacking of anyone. What this needs is for all the parties involved and the representatives of the people to sit down and really come with a sophisticated analogy to this matter and see what can be done, if anything can be done by now. Because, I mean, these people that they are talking about, they are calling foreigners, these people now, they might have South African citizenship, they might be married here, they got
Not all
children
of them are
here.
illegal, in fact.
Exactly.
Not all of them are illegal.
Exactly, that's a perception. That's what a perception does. It's going to call, I mean, all the potatoes rotten, even if that's not the matter, so as to speak. So, for our president to be responding 2 weeks later also is very suspect because, I mean, this is not a new issue in the first place. You really wonder what the authorities are sitting doing sometimes because these are the things they're supposed to be tackling and these are the people they're supposed to be serving. So it's really sad, you know. It's really sad when you look at our government, and not only South African government is always suspect with really tackling the issues of the people all over Africa. This is what is drawing us backwards.
Okay, now would you actually agree to the fact or question, if I may say that, foreigners are being used as scapegoats, like I did mention earlier, for the worsening economic conditions in the country? I know you did touch about a person coming to get the land, but then South Africa also has reports of poor service delivery, poor education standards.
Right. Let me answer.
And all this.
I think, yeah, that fits in a certain extent that is being used as scapegoats. Because, I mean, look at Thabo Mbeki, the guy they kicked out of office. This was the man who was trying to organize the African economy, that Africans should be neutralizing the natural resources for themselves, because Africa, what I also found out is that Africa is not really trading with each other and empowering each other's economies. You know, it's, we're trading outside, and our resources, I mean, are being matured outside. Like you would take the gold and then it's sent to America, and then it comes back to South Africa, and the guys that's sitting on that gold cannot even afford it now because it's in dollars and all that. Now, Thabo Mbeki, they kicked him out of office, and he was an idealist, and he was trying to mobilize the economy. And now we are dealing with, this is an economic issue at the end of the day. You know, people are hungry, they are desperate. You understand? So, it's a mess.
Just hold your thought there. We have a caller from Nigeria. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Embodies.
Yes, good evening. I'm Gabriel. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Yes, please
I
go
must
ahead.
say I'm watching the program, and what is... Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, I can hear you clearly. Please go ahead.
All right, yes. What is happening presently in South Africa, sincerely, is not presenting the nation in a good light. I think the government should step up with whatever measures they want to, you know, come up with to bring this situation to a rest, because it will go a long way to discourage a lot of people trying to come into South Africa. And I don't think South Africans should treat other people this way. There's a lot of reports I've heard, you know, things happening, people being set ablaze. I don't know if that report is true, but if it is, I think the government should step up and quell this situation and bring it to a calm as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. That was a caller from Nigeria. Okay, so Ntlalo, you were saying that it still bows back to the government and perhaps changing the immigration laws, yes, if I heard you correctly.
Yes. Also, what I would like to touch on, the South African society, as far as the segregation and the apartheid, South Africans were like in their own backyard, you know. I mean, we don't even know much about each other, South Africans, you know, the colored people and so forth and so forth. Now, that social mindset also comes into play because you have these people who were cut out from the rest of the world for, I mean, hundreds of years, you understand? And now South Africa is open up and embraced all the peoples of the world. So maybe the ignorant man really, you know, on the street is not really that mindset, you know. It still needs, there's a lot of education and maturity of us as a nation, really, you know.
That needs to happen there.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to ask you particularly this question. As a South African, and I remember earlier, behind the scenes, we were speaking about the miners at Marikana.
Yeah.
We mentioned that, in fact, you say that as a South African, here you are trying to say that an employer should give you a certain amount of money, which is what we saw in Marikana when the miners were actually protesting that they needed a salary increment. And there comes cheap labor from foreign nationals in this scenario that will come and say, listen, I'm coming from another background where perhaps the economy is not performing very well where they're coming from, and they're willing to take that little amount that these particular people, these so-called miners, are protesting against. So does this make the foreigner an enemy?
Right. You see, the South African, you know, I think in your own country, you know, you feel a sense of entitlement, you know, to opportunities that are available, right? And if from wherever you are standing now, I mean, generally, you know, like we're trying to understand that guy that is having these kinds of issues. How does he come to this decision now to express himself in this violent manner, you know, not condoning any violence. But now, those are the issues that play out, because you understand the South African laborers, they are under unions, right? They are, in most cases, they are mobilized by unions, and then you've got that other option to the employer of that guy coming from outside who's only representing himself and who will take whatever is put on the table. You will work with that, you understand? So then there's a clash of interest, and a sense that, you know, you are not with us. You understand? And maybe also, even if the guy was with them, but, you know, he is still getting that type of hostility, you know, like this hostility to the unknown, or the guy coming in, they don't really, you know, the unknown. You understand? So such issues play out themselves now and come in an ugly way. Now, these are the things that, you know, you can say, I mean, the authorities, they need to educate the people and try to look at it in that sense that the resources, because the resources in areas is really dog eat dog.
Okay, so Kings Relitini clearly says in his message that when these foreign nationals come, they say that we are lazy, meaning the South Africans. They're lazy, they don't want to work, they dirty the streets, and all this, the facts that he had pointing out to the reason why foreign nationals should actually leave the country. What is your comment with regards to South Africans being referred to as lazy people that don't like working, hence the foreign nationals come and take their place?
I don't know about taking their place, because, I mean, they come and they hustle for themselves, you know what I'm saying? You cannot say they come and take anybody's job. That guy sitting in the township didn't have a job. Nobody took his job. Now, also I understand what he's saying. Yes, there are those perceptions that South Africans are lazy. I actually have met that scenario that, you know, I mean, before Nigerians came here, there weren't really internet cafes, you know, like that. Like, they came in and entered into a market that was not really tapped into, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, how do you say now your jobs are being taken? You know, be it as it is right now, there are opportunities waiting, but that guy is sitting at home, and when he starts seeing people prospering in a certain way, and now that's when he's gonna see now that these people are prospering and they are taking our job. But I mean, that guy found that opportunity, you understand?
Okay, I'm just going to hold your thought there. Remembrance, welcome back. We've got Remembrance back online now. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, sorry we got cut off there earlier on, but moving on with the program. This xenophobic violence that South Africa is experiencing now, what kind of effect does it have abroad on the international map for the country?
For South Africa, this is very public. Shows that South people cannot accommodate one with them. It's not actually for them. And for business, you have that everyone has to boycott it. That is, they want to have all those jobs. That was Africa, benefit of Africa. That is why everyone is going to party. The industrialization was done for Africa paying and at the expense of the other African countries because we were already independent. But we were housing their people. Now they're forgetting that. They don't even know about that. They don't know that part of history.
Okay, and unfortunately that line is not very clear. We can't really hear what Remembrance is saying there, and time is not really on our side. Now, Ntlalo, since I have you here in studio, what is your message out there to everybody who's watching? We've got the whole world watching at this point in time. It's not only South Africans, it's not only Africans in Africa. The whole world is watching this. What is your message out there with regards to what we are experiencing right now with the xenophobic attacks?
So, I mean, to me, where I'm standing, I mean, South Africa is still a country for everyone and a country that belongs to the world, really. You know, like America, you know, it's made by people coming in and people who you can say are the indigenous people. You know, that's how economy works. I mean, no country is an island, really, you know. Investors
and
yeah. All sorts of people coming together. That's the character of South Africa. So what we are seeing happening now, I mean, we just pray, you know, it comes to an end and these issues can be addressed and tackled in a way that, you know, we'll see everybody happy. That's what we hope for, and that our government can find the agency to tackle these issues. Because I mean, just like the ESCOM issue, you know, the issue was there, and they know that the issue was there, but the authorities they are busy with whatever they are busy with, you know. And what the people you would think they are voting for the government to be able to. As the authority to solve such problems, and it's not happening. Hopefully now we won't be still talking about these attacks in what, 10, 20 years to come, you know? Okay. So yeah, that's what we hope for.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that analysis. That was NTLALONTLE NGCAKAZA, a social analyst here in South Africa. Now, people overseas who read about the xenophobic events probably don't understand this particular nuances in the South African context. A report towards tolerance, law and dignity, addressing violence against foreign nationals in South Africa, commissioned by the International Organization for Migration, found that poor service delivery or an influx of foreigners may have played a contributing role, but blamed township politics for the attacks. It also found that community leadership was potentially lucrative for unemployed people and that such leaders organized the attacks. Local leadership could be illegitimate and often violent when emerging from either a political vacuum or fierce competition, and such leaders enhanced their authority by reinforcing resentment towards foreigners. Well, that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you for watching WorldView. Join us again next week as we bring you more insight on the world's political and current affairs. Thank you for watching. Good evening.